paedophiles.
Amnesty for paedophiles. Amnesty for paedophiles. Amnesty for paedophiles.
What?
Amnesty for paedophiles.
What you talking about?
Amnesty. Amnesty. Amnesty for paedophiles.
I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these.
Amnesty for paedophiles.
What?
Amnesty for paedophiles.
What you talking about?
Amnesty. Amnesty. Amnesty for paedophiles.
I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these practices and to be
Amnesty for paedophiles. Amnesty for paedophiles. Amnesty for paedophiles.
What?
Amnesty for paedophiles.
What you talking about?
Amnesty. Amnesty. Amnesty for paedophiles.
I would like to see a kind of amnesty for everybody who's been up to these practices and to be rehabilitated, restored into the mainstream of the human community.
Hello, me lovelies. Well, that made interesting viewing, didn't it? That was Bill Maloney and Belinda McKenzie asking for an amnesty for paedophiles. Now, Belinda McKenzie got away with that quite lightly, you know. It was Bill Maloney who got slam dunked over saying that. Now, Bill Maloney, for those who don't know, was hero worshipped. Oh, again, I said well before, don't hero worship him. Don't hate. There's something. He's out to get what he wants. He's not genuinely concerned about child sex abuse or exploitation. He just wanted to get his pie and mash films off the ground. That's all he wanted. Now, people were all, oh, Bill Maloney, hero. Yeah. Oh, Simon Danchuk, hero. Yeah. Oh, Carl Beach, I believe, Nick, hero. Yeah. Do you see a trend here? Every fucking one that's been held up as a hero has turned out to be a shit at the end of the day. Because they're using it, they're doing it for themselves, not for any victims or survivors. And that's why I say, once you start finding yourself defending someone like Bill or Belinda McKenzie or anyone else, John Wedger, anyone else, going on how wonderful they are, how perfect they are, and refusing to listen to any information that says otherwise, get out of the child exploitation and child sex abuse arena, because you're dangerous and you're not wanted. Leave it up to sensible people who do ask questions so they can unmask whether someone is seriously campaigning for that or just campaigning to see what they can get out of it. Because usually when it's the latter, they're going to cause terrible devastation. Terrible devastation. Well, anyway, what would an amnesty for paedophiles actually mean? Now, what Bill Maloney wanted was that these paedophiles would come forward and say, yes, I'm a paedophile and I was involved in this paedophile ring, and give information, right, about these rings. Now, do you think he wanted that because it would help survivors or victims? No. Because an amnesty would also mean that if any victims came along and said, I was abused by that paedophile, what they'd be told is, oh, I'm sorry, that paedophile came forward during an amnesty and you can't do anything now. You'll just have to live with the fact that you were abused and get off with it. But Bill would have a good film to make. A few films to make. So who's benefit from it? Victims of child sex exploitation or Bill Maloney and Pie and Mash films? Well, Bill Maloney and Pie and Mash films would. And as for Belinda McKenzie, who would benefit there? Certainly not the victims again. No chance. No, she'd benefit. Because she'd say, you see what I was saying about these satanic ritual abuse circles are all true. It's all true. But again, the victims wouldn't be getting any justice. They'd be cut off. Totally no justice whatsoever. And also, it's a ridiculous scenario. Why the hell would anyone, a paedophile, go for an amnesty? Because it's obvious if they want to go forward for an amnesty, that means they're not on the police radar. They're not being watched. Because they wouldn't be offered an amnesty if the police already knew about it, about the crimes they were getting up to. That wouldn't happen. So it's never going to happen. You'd never get anyone coming forward. But say that you had a paedophile in the campaigning industry. Now, I'm not talking about Bill Maloney. I'm not talking about Belinda. I'm not talking about John Wedger, who I'll get on to in a minute. I'm not saying that they're paedophiles. I'm not saying that one bit. But what I'm saying is, say that someone in the campaigning arenas was, look, Carl Beach, that was called Survivor, a campaigner who did the Wall of Silence. Do you remember the Wall of Silence? With all the faces of survivors of sexual exploitation and sexual abuse up there. He was a campaigner, wasn't he? And what did we find out about him? Paedophile. Which people were warned and totally ignored that he was a paedophile, and now he's serving 18 years in the slammer for being a liar and the fences, because he was getting what he wanted out of it. So you have to be wary of this. An amnesty could be set up so that certain individuals could go along, creep along and say, oh, I did this, knowing that they might be caught at some point. Get off with it and then carry on in the campaigning industry. Go, no, I'm okay. Also, what it means is that if they apply for a job, it wouldn't be on the criminal record check. See what I'm saying? Very strange for campaigners who are going on about the poor victims, or in John Wedger's case, the poor child prostitutes or child whores or sluts, whatever he likes to call them. You know, I prefer the term, victims of child sex exploitation, but he doesn't like that apparently. It's too nice for him and too caring for him. Now, what about John Wedger? And everyone that knows me knows I have my radar up with John Wedger. I've had it up with John Wedger for a while now because, I'm ex-police myself, right? I worked for the police. And what he's telling you out there, it's the truth mixed with a hell of a lot of exaggeration and a hell of a lot of scaremongering and a hell of a lot of, I'm a hero, look at this, I'm fighting child sex exploitation that has Satanism involved. Nah, don't fall for it, people. But anyway, what he said, I was going to put the recording on here because someone kindly sent it to me, but it's too poor quality. And I need to talk about it. But what John Wedger is basically saying is repatriation for paedophiles. In other words, instead of letting the law deal with them, this is an ex-CID officer, people. Instead of letting the law deal with them, hand it back to the paedophile and let them decide what should be done. Are you kidding me? So you get the paedophile and you say, right, what do you think should be done to stop you doing it again? Not like let the law prosecute you. So what's he going on? Why is he saying that yet at the same time claiming that he's trying to help these child prostitutes, child whores, John? He's crying out about these poor victims. Yeah, he's bleeding while saying that if they got hold of the people that were exploiting them, they'd be asked, well, what should you do? What should we do? Oh, wake up, people. You've got to start asking questions of what you consider to be your heroes. There's no such thing as a hero. There's no such thing as a hero. And even if someone was a hero, they'd be mortified. Absolutely mortified if you called them that. They'd be embarrassed and shrink away from us. They'd be mortified. Because that's what a true hero would do. If you want to find out if John Wedger would be mortified if you called him a hero, just tweet to him, oh, I think you should get a knighthood, John, for all your good work. Or he'll be retweeting that like mad. Oh, yeah, that's what he wants. He wants his knighthood. But somehow I think that John Wedger's getting in line for being built up and then knocked down by the press, because once they get hold of that demons, demonically possessed people thing, they'll have a field day with them, an absolute field day. Absolutely. So anyway, darlings, just remember, you don't need heroes. Especially question the people you admire, because there's remember that I called it the chitty chitty bang bang scenario. Robert Helpman, when he was the child catcher, or Robert Helpman, Oh, I knew him many years ago, Robert Helpman, an amazing man. But Robert Helpman is a child catcher. What does he do to get the children? He offers them sweets. He's colourful. He offers them treacle, tart, and all sorts to get them to get into his wagon. Well, that's what you've got to be wary of. Because someone appears to be the answer to every survivor of child sex abuse dreams, doesn't mean that they are.